Every time you cave when she tests you, when you apologize for having boundaries, when you chase after she pulls away, when you defend yourself when she disrespects you, she loses respect. But there's one response that makes women go silent. Not because it's aggressive, because it reveals she can't control you. It's called calm indifference. And psychologists who study power dynamics found it triggers something women desperately don't want to face, that they're with a man who doesn't need them. Most men will never use it because they're too terrified of what happens when she realizes she can't manipulate them anymore. Let me show you something the 90% will never admit. Every time she tests you, she's praying you don't break. But you do. Every single time you cave, you explain, you chase, you apologize for having boundaries, and the moment you do, she loses just a little more respect for you before we go further. Think of the last time she tested you. Maybe she threatened to leave. Maybe she disrespected a boundary. Got that moment in mind? Hold it. Because what you did next, that instinct to fix it, to explain, to chase, I'm going to show you exactly why that instinct is destroying her attraction to you. Now, here's what's going to sting. Every time you caved to keep her, you weren't saving the relationship, you were destroying it. Have you ever noticed how her eyes change when you defend yourself? That subtle shift from challenge to disappointment, like she was hoping you'd be different. But you just proved you're exactly like the rest. Do you feel that tightness in your chest when she threatens to leave? That immediate panic that makes you scramble to fix it, to explain, to promise you'll change. Here's the human truth beneath all of this. You cave because you believe, somewhere deep down, that you're not enough. And if she leaves, it will confirm it. So you sacrifice your boundaries, your self-respect, your frame, just to keep her around, because as long as she's staying, you don't have to face that fear. What if I told you that panic, that desperate need to keep the peace, is exactly what's killing her attraction to you? Here's what no one tells you. Every time you cave, you're not keeping the peace. You're training her to lose respect for you. And the response that changes this? It feels dangerous. It feels like you're going to lose her. But here's the truth that's going to hurt to hear. Here's what most men don't understand. When she tests your frame, when she disrespects a boundary, brings up an X to make you jealous, threatens to walk away, she's not trying to hurt you. She's searching for something. And every time you break under that test, you confirm her deepest fear, that she's with a man who can be controlled. Have you ever wondered why she seems to respect you less after you apologize for standing your ground? Why does she pull away more when you chase her after a fight? Why does your willingness to keep the peace seem to create more conflict? What if the response she dreads is actually the response she's desperately hoping you'll finally give her? Most men think caving dechilu maturity. They think explaining themselves chiung communication. They think chasing after her chilung showing you care. But here's the truth they'll never tell you in couples therapy. Every time you cave, you become less attractive. Every time you break frame, she sees you as weaker. Every time you need her approval, she loses respect for the man she thought you were. By the end, you'll know the exact response that makes her go silent, the 4 words that transform dread into respect. You'll see why 90% of men's mature responses destroy attraction, and you'll discover how to hold frame so unmovably that she stops testing and starts respecting. But there's one truth about this response I need to tell you at the end. One truth about why it works that'll make everything else make sense. It's called calm indifference, and here's what makes it dangerous. It feels like you're going to lose her. Stay with me, because when I reveal exactly how to use it later, you'll understand why 90% of men are too afraid to try it. But here's the question I need you to sit with. Are you ready to stop being the man who caves and become the man she can't control? Because there's no going back once you see this. Let's start with what most men believe. They think when she tests them, when she disrespects a boundary, creates drama, threatens to leave, the right response is to be understanding, to communicate, to compromise, to show her you care by bending, surface level. Be accommodating to keep the peace. But let me show you what's really happening beneath that surface. Every time you cave to her test, you're not keeping the peace. You're teaching her that your boundaries are negotiable, that your frame can be broken, that if she pushes hard enough, you'll fold. And deep down, in the parts of her psychology she'll never consciously admit, she's losing respect for you. But here's what you're missing. And this is the part that separates the 10% from everyone else. Here's the reframe most men never get. Her tests aren't problems to solve. They're questions she's asking about who you really are. When she threatens to leave, she's not asking you to beg. She's asking, are you the kind of man who needs me, or the kind of man who chooses me? When she brings up her ex to make you jealous, she's not trying to hurt you. She's asking, are you secure enough in yourself that my past doesn't shake you? When she disrespects a boundary you set, she's asking, are you actually the strong man I thought you were, or did I just imagine it? And when you defend yourself, explain yourself, chase her, apologize for having standards, you're answering every single one of those questions with, no, I'm not that man. I need your approval to feel okay. You cave, not because you love her, but because you need her to stay to feel whole. Carl Jung understood this deeply. He talked about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide because we're afraid of rejection. And most men have put their strength in the shadow, their ability to hold boundaries, their willingness to let her walk if she can't respect them. Why? Because they're terrified that if they stop accommodating her, she'll leave. But here's what Jung knew that most men don't. When you hide your strength to avoid conflict, you don't keep the peace. You just become a man she can't respect. Do you see the pattern in your own life? Every time you've chased her after she pulled away, did it bring you closer? Or did it make her pull away more? Every time you've explained and defended your decision because she didn't like it, did she respect you more? Or did you feel smaller? Every time you've apologized for standing your ground, did it create harmony? Or did it create more tests? What if the problem isn't that you're not communicating enough, but that you're communicating weakness? Here's the deeper truth, and I need you to really feel this. She doesn't want a man she can break. She wants a man who won't break, but she needs to test you to find out which one you are. This isn't cruelty. This is psychology. This is how feminine energy engages with masculine energy. She has to push against your frame to see if it's real. And when you cave, when you bend, when you need her approval to stand firm in your own decisions, you're not showing her love. You're showing her you're the weak man she dreads being stuck with. Think about the men she's actually attracted to, not the ones she says she wants, the ones she actually respects. What do they have in common? They don't chase, they don't explain, they don't break frame to keep her comfortable. They hold their boundaries calmly and let her decide if she wants to stay or go. And that calm indifference, that unwillingness to cave, it terrifies her, because it means she can't control you. But we're not at that final truth yet, the one I mentioned earlier. We're getting closer. But first you need to understand this. But there's something even deeper happening here. Something most men never see because they're too busy trying to fix the surface problem. Here's the brutal truth the 90% will never face, and it's going to destroy the comfortable lie you've been telling yourself. And if you can't handle this, you might as well stop watching now. Because what comes next separates the men who grow from the men who stay weak forever. But here's where it gets really dark, where most men will close this video because they can't face it. Stay with me, because this next part, this is what separates the 10% from everyone else. Every time you cave, every time you break frame to avoid conflict, every time you apologize for having boundaries, you're not just losing her respect, you're confirming her deepest, most primal fear. that she chose wrong. Let me take you beneath the surface, into the shadow territory most people never want to look at. When a woman tests you, she's not consciously trying to destroy the relationship. She's trying to find out if you're real, if the strength she saw in you when you met, if the confidence that attracted her in the first place was actually real or just a performance. And here's the brutal truth. Most men are performing, and the moment she tests them, the performance falls apart. She says, maybe we should just end this. And you panic. You feel that hole open up in your chest, that terror of losing her, and you immediately go into damage control. You explain. You promise to change. You ask what you did wrong. You beg her not to leave. And in that moment, she sees the truth. You need her. You're not choosing her from a place of strength. You're clinging to her from a place of fear, and every cell in her body, every instinct that's been hardwired over millennia of evolution, is screaming at her, this man isn't strong enough. And the reason you need her? Because you've outsourced your sense of worth to whether she chooses you. I know this is hard to see. Because you thought you were doing the right thing. You thought accommodating her meant loving her. You were taught that sacrifice equals devotion. But do you know what she dreads? More than being alone, being stuck with a man she can't. Respect being trapped with a man who's so desperate for her approval that he'll abandon his own boundaries just to keep her around, because deep down she knows, if you don't respect yourself enough to hold your ground, how can she respect you? Think about it like this. Imagine you're building a house and every time there's a strong wind, the walls shake and bend. Would you trust that house to protect you in a storm? Or would you spend every day terrified it's going to collapse? That's what it feels like for her when you cave. She can't relax into your strength, because you don't have any. Not really. You have the appearance of strength, but the moment she tests it, you fold. Now let me show you what's really happening in the shadow. The part that's going to make you uncomfortable. And here's the deepest shadow truth, the one most men will never let themselves see. She needs you to be unmovable, not because she wants to submit, but because she needs to know that when life gets hard, when real challenges come, you won't break. If you break when she tests you, how are you going to hold frame when the world tests you? If you can't maintain your boundaries with her, how are you going to protect her when external threats show up? This is the paradox of feminine testing. She pushes against you, hoping you won't move. And when you do move, when you bend, when you cave, it doesn't make her feel powerful. It makes her feel unsafe, because now she's with a man who can be controlled by emotions. Carl Jung called this the integration of the shadow. The parts of yourself you've rejected because you're afraid they'll make you unlovable. For most men, that's their masculine strength. Their willingness to stand alone. Their ability to say, this is who I am, and if that doesn't work for you, I'll be okay. You've hidden that strength because you're terrified that if you use it, she'll leave. This isn't your fault. You didn't create these patterns. Society taught you this was what love looked like. But now you know better. And knowing better means you can choose differently. But here's what you don't see. She's already leaving, slowly, every time you cave. Every time you break. Every time you need her approval to feel okay. Her attraction isn't dying because you're not romantic enough, or attentive enough, or sensitive enough. It's dying because you're not strong enough, not physically strong, not domineeringly strong, psychologically strong. Strong enough to hold your frame when she's emotional. Strong enough to maintain your boundaries when she's testing them. Strong enough to let her walk away if she can't respect you. And the response she dreads, the one we're building toward, is the one that reveals that strength. Let me paint you a picture. She comes home angry. She picks a fight over something small. She escalates. She says things designed to get a reaction, to make you defend yourself, to pull you into her emotional chaos. Most men either fight back, breaking frame, getting emotional, proving they can be controlled, or they apologize and try to fix it, breaking frame, showing weakness, proving they'll cave to avoid conflict. But there's a third option. The option the 10% use. You stay calm. You don't defend. You don't attack. You don't chase. You simply hold your ground, unmoved by the storm, and when she says, "Maybe this isn't working," hoping you'll panic and beg her to stay, you say, calmly, without anger, without fear, "If that's what you need to do, I understand." And then you go about your life. You don't chase. You don't text her apologizing. You don't break down and call her at midnight. You just continue being the man you are, with or without her. Do you know what happens in her mind when you do that? Panic, because she just realized she can't control you, and if she can't control you, that means you're choosing to be with her. Not because you need her, but because you want her, and that is what creates respect. Here's the brutal question you need to face. The one that determines everything. How many times have you caved because you were afraid of losing her? How many times have you apologized for having boundaries because her emotions felt more important than your self-respect? How many times have you chased her, explained yourself, bent your frame, just to keep the peace? And did it work? Did caving make her respect you more? Did breaking frame make her more attracted? Or did it just teach her that if she pushes hard enough, you'll always fold? There's a reason she keeps testing you. And it's not because she's cruel. It's not that you're weak. It's that you've been trying to be strong in all the wrong ways. You've been wielding compassion like a shield when what she needed was your sword. It's because you keep failing. Remember that truth I mentioned? We're almost there. But this next layer is what makes it possible. But there's something even deeper here. A paradox that changes everything once you see it. Here's the paradox that most men never understand. The response she dreads is the response she desperately needs you to give her. Think about that. When you stay calm and unmoved, when you hold your boundary without breaking, when you're willing to let her walk away if she can't respect you. She dreads it because it means she's not in control. But that dread, that's not fear of you. That's fear of herself. Fear that she might actually lose a man who's strong enough to stand alone. And that fear is what transforms into respect, which transforms into attraction. Let me show you why this works at a psychological level. Remember how we talked about her tests being questions. Are you real? Are you strong? Can I actually trust you? When you cave, you answer, "No, I'm performing strength, but I'm actually weak." When you stay unmoved, you answer, "Yes, I am exactly who I appear to be, and I don't need your approval to know my worth." And here's the paradox. The moment you're willing to lose her is the moment she realizes she doesn't want to lose you. Because strength is attractive. Not dominance, not control, not aggression. Calm, unmovable, self-respecting strength. The kind of strength that says, "I love you, but I love myself too much to abandon my boundaries just to keep you around." Do you see how this is the opposite of what most men do? Most men think, if I show her I need her, she'll feel secure. But what actually happens? She feels burdened. Because now she's responsible for your emotional stability. Most men think, if I chase her when she pulls away, she'll know I care. But what actually happens? She loses respect. Because chasing reveals desperation, not love. Most men think, if I cave on my boundaries, she'll see I'm willing to compromise. But what actually happens? She sees you as weak. Because you'll abandon yourself to keep her comfortable. This is the female testing paradox. She tests hoping you'll stand firm. But most men break, which creates the exact weakness she was afraid of. Remember those 4 words I mentioned at the beginning? The ones the 90% can't say? Here they are, and here's the open loop from the beginning, the answer you've been waiting for. The response every woman dreads. Calm indifference plus boundary maintenance. When she tests you, when she threatens to leave, when she disrespects a boundary. You don't get emotional. You don't defend. You don't chase. You simply say calmly, "Sundin, do what you need to do." And then you continue your life, unbothered, unmoved, not out of spite, not out of games, but because you actually don't need her approval to be okay. She dreads this response because it reveals the truth. She can't manipulate you. She can't control you with emotions. She can't use the threat of leaving to make you bend, and that dread, that realization that she's with a man who will be fine without her. is what makes her actually value you. Think about the men in your life who are genuinely respected, not feared, not disliked, respected. Do they chase approval? Do they break frame when tested? Do they apologize for having standards? No, they're calm. They're unmoved. They know who they are, and they don't need external validation to confirm it. And people, men and women, respect them for it. Now apply that to your relationship. When she says, "I'm leaving," and you say, "Okay, I'll help you pack," not with anger, but with calm acceptance, what message does that send? It says, "I want you here, but I don't need you here. I'm not going to abandon myself to keep you." When she brings up her ex to make you jealous, and you show complete indifference, what message does that send? It says, "I'm secure in who I am. Your attempts to manipulate me emotionally don't work." When she disrespects a boundary, and you calmly maintain it without explaining or defending, what message does that send? It says, "This is who I am. If that doesn't work for you, that's okay. But I'm not changing to make you comfortable." And here's the integration of everything we've covered. Her tests aren't the problem. Your response to them is, when you cave, you confirm her fear. You're weak. When you stay unmoved, you answer her deepest question. You're strong, and strength, real, calm, self-respecting strength is what creates lasting attraction. Do you see the paradox now? The thing she dreads, losing control over you, is the exact thing that makes her respect you. The response you're afraid to give, calm boundary holding, is the exact response that creates attraction. The moment you stop needing her approval is the moment she starts desperately wanting yours. Here's that final truth I promised. The reason do what you need to do works isn't because it's a tactic, it's because you can only say it. When you've already integrated your shadow, when you've faced the terror of being alone and made peace with it, when you've stopped believing that you need her approval to be whole, that's what she feels, not the words. The internal shift that makes the words true. But here's the question. Are you actually willing to let her walk away? Or are you still so afraid of losing her that you'll cave the moment she tests you? Because if you're not willing to be alone, you'll never be truly chosen. And if you're not willing to lose her, you've already lost yourself. Because a man who's lost himself has confirmed his deepest fear, that he was never enough to begin with, and a man who's lost himself is a man no woman can respect. So where does this leave you? You now understand the mechanism. You know why she tests. You know why caving destroys attraction. You know the response she dreads, and why it's the only response that works. But understanding isn't enough. The question is, what do you do with this? Let's integrate this into your actual life. First, recognize when you're being tested. Not every disagreement is a test. But when she's creating emotional chaos, threatening to leave, disrespecting boundaries, or trying to provoke a reaction, that's a test. She's asking, are you real? And your response will answer that question. Second, check your internal state before you respond. Are you reacting from fear, from need, from the desperate terror of losing her? Or are you responding from calm self-respect, from the knowledge that you'll be okay with or without her? Because she can feel the difference. You can't fake unmovable calm. You either have it or you don't. This is shadow work. Not the comfortable kind they sell you in self-help books. The kind that makes you question everything you thought love was supposed to be, and if you don't have it yet, that's your work. That's the shadow integration Jung talked about. Reclaiming your strength, your ability to stand alone, your willingness to be okay without her approval. Third, hold your frame with calm indifference. When she tests, don't get emotional. Don't defend, don't explain, don't chase. Simply maintain your boundary calmly and let her decide what she wants to do. If that's what you need to do, I understand. I hear you. Do what feels right for you. I'm not changing my boundary, but you're free to make whatever choice works for you. No anger, no fear, no need. Just calm self-respect. Holding frame isn't a tactic. It's the terrifying decision to finally tell the truth about who you are. Every moment you don't cave is a moment you're choosing authenticity over comfort. This isn't about getting her respect. It's about respecting yourself enough to stop lying. Fourth, actually be willing to let her walk. This is where most men fail. They say the words, but they don't mean it. They're still terrified inside. They're still hoping she doesn't actually leave, and she can feel that. You have to genuinely be okay with her walking away. Not because you don't care about her, but because you care about yourself too much to abandon your boundaries just to keep someone around. This is the hardest part, because it means facing your fear of being alone, your fear of not being enough, your fear that if she leaves, you'll never find someone else, and that fear, that's your shadow screaming. The part of you that was taught, you're only lovable when you're accommodating. Time to let it scream. But here's the truth. If you're not willing to be alone, you'll never be truly chosen, because she'll know you're with her out of need, not choice. Out of fear, not love, and need. Need is the opposite of attraction. So here's your challenge. The next time she tests you, and she will test you because that's how this works, ask yourself, am I responding from fear or from strength? Am I caving to keep the peace, or am I holding my frame because I respect myself? Am I willing to actually let her walk away if she can't respect my boundary? And if the answer is no, if you're still too afraid to let her go, then your work isn't with her. It's with yourself. Reclaim the strength you put in the shadow, the part of you that knows your worth, the part of you that doesn't need external validation to feel okay, because that's the man she's desperately hoping you'll become, not the man who caves, not the man who chases. Not the man who apologizes for having standards, the man who stays calm when she's emotional, the man who holds his ground when she's testing, the man who's strong enough to stand alone, which makes him strong enough to truly be with her. And here's the final truth. Most men will never do this. They'll keep caving, keep chasing, keep breaking frame to avoid conflict. And they'll spend their entire lives wondering why she's never truly satisfied, why the passion died, why she doesn't respect them the way she used to. But you're not part of the 90%. You wouldn't have made it this far if you were. You're the 10%. The ones who are willing to look at the uncomfortable truth. The ones who are willing to do the shadow work. The ones who are willing to reclaim their strength, even if it means risking everything. And that strength, that calm, unmovable, self-respecting strength is what creates real attraction, real respect, real love, not the Hollywood version, not the version where you sacrifice yourself to prove you care, the version where two whole people choose each other, not out of need, but out of genuine desire. Every moment you spend caving is a moment you're believing the lie, that you're not enough as you are. But here's what changes everything. The wound is real, the terror is real, but the belief, that's the lie. You are always enough. The man who doesn't cave isn't performing strength. He's finally remembered who he was before the world taught him to shrink. And that remembering, that's not a tactic. That's coming home to yourself. So let me leave you with this. The response she dreads is the response she needs. Your calm refusal to break frame. Your willingness to let her walk if she can't respect you. Your strength to stand alone, she'll test it. She'll push against it. She'll try to make you cave, and when you don't, when you stay unmoved, when you prove you're actually the man you appeared to be, that dread will transform into respect, and respect is the foundation of everything else. Are you ready to stop being the man who caves? Are you ready to become the man she can't control? Are you ready to reclaim the strength you've been hiding in the shadow? Because the moment you do, everything changes. The question is, are you willing to risk losing her to find out who you really are? Because that's the paradox. The moment you're willing to lose her is the moment you truly become worthy of being chosen. And that is the response every woman dreads, because it means she finally found a man who won't break. And once you become that man, you'll never go back to caving again.